Is this just fantasy, or is this 40 Coffins? A take on Dracula that is quite similar to a movie that came out this year. That's why I'm doing this. So I found this comic in the shop. Apparently, it's from 2015, and I'm a big fan of Dracula. I guess I sort of collect adaptations of Dracula, so I guess I had to have this. And this is, as labeled here, a one and done book that is essentially a single chapter adapted from the Dracula novel, which is Dracula traveling from Transylvania to England by way of the Demeter. And essentially, he picks off the sailors of that ship one by one, and it's told from the sailors' perspective, who aren't sure what's going on until it's too late. And again, very similar to a film that came out this year, The Last Voyage of the Demeter by André Øvredal. And I really like that movie. I'll talk more about it after I talk about this, but there are some interesting similarities. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say like that there's some sort of influence from one to the other, because one, that book has been around since the 1890s. Two, the idea to do a film adaptation of that chapter as its own standalone movie has been around for at least 20 years, if not more. And I just think that there's bound to be similarities in adaptation, just because the source material is what it is. So we are being told this story by Santullo and Jock, not Jock, but Jock. And this is by Space Goat Pictures. Was it Space Goat Publishing? Don't know them. So this is my first Space Goat. But I wanted to go over this, and I think there's some interesting things going on in here. And eventually, in this end, some interesting choices on the part of adaptation. I really like the title. I think that 40 Coffins, it's just, it's a cool title. It's, just on its own. But I don't recall them mentioning in the story that there are 40 coffins or even 40 boxes. So I think that's a missed opportunity, because otherwise it may not really make much sense. But I guess I know what they mean. Also, I think it's interesting in the credits page that they don't have a credit that's like, based upon the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. They just have a dedication to Bram Stoker. So, oh well, just another way to do it, I guess. I'll say right away that I think like the art is really interesting. There's some really great line work, some strong choices being made. So one of the things that I find really interesting about this comic is that it starts at the end of the journey, say, when the ship eventually gets to England, specifically Whitby, England. Spoilers, I guess, for Dracula. If you're watching this and you've never seen any version of Dracula or read any version of Dracula, I just want to say, get your shit together. It's Dracula. Like, watch a movie, read a comic, read the book, listen to it on audio. Like, come on, get with it. Like, it's fucking Dracula. And so I'm not even gonna worry about spoilers at this point, just because it's Dracula. And if you haven't gotten to it at this point, stop the video, get to it, and then come back to this, because yeah, it's Dracula. What are you waiting for? Um, anyway, it starts at essentially the end. Why, I don't know. And that's actually a similar question I have to the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which again, I really like the movie, and it's not really much of a spoiler because it's just how the movie starts, period, is it starts at the end when the ship's already made it to England, and then it goes back and tells the story of the journey, and that's what this one does. Odd that they both do it that way, and I guess the reasoning maybe is because the novel Dracula is an epistolary novel, meaning that it is a novel told in letters and journal entries and even like a wax cylinder. It's actually a pretty cool concept. It's the 1890s novel version of found footage, is what I would say. Is it's meant to feel more present and real if it just feels like you're reading through somebody's letters and they're talking about weird things that happened to them, and that's, I guess that's the idea. I feel like somebody at some point, if they haven't already, is going to create like a box that you can be sent, that's like, and they've filled it with artificial or fake versions of old letters and even like some sort of recording device or whatever, and it's the novel of Dracula, but it's in all of the original media that it's supposed to be in. So I feel like, one, that would be awesome. That would be a great piece to have in your Dracula collection, specifically mine. But also, yeah, it would kind of further push forward the idea of it. But anyway, the story we are told about the Demeter comes from the journal of the captain of the Demeter. The Demeter's coming in to crash. Apparently, broom is the chosen sound. Kind of Mignola-esque onomatopoeia, like the way the letters overlap. I guess he couldn't say boom because then it would definitely be Mignola-esque, so he's got to say broom. But yeah, nice colors, and just it's hectic. And yeah, the ship is going. It looks like it's going to crash, but then doesn't, and it's eerie and spectral, and they get to the ship, and there's nobody on board. While I originally had trouble seeing what was happening here, I feel like it's I know what it's supposed to be. The captain has lashed himself to the wheel, and so this is the captain. But like, I don't know, the art wise, like, because the top of his head fades into shadow, I couldn't really tell what I was looking at, making heads or tails of it. But then I see like his hand, and then this close up helps make it clearer, and then further shots in the next page or two, like make it clearer what's happening. But yeah, that was a little trip up I had in the art. But then we see, there's a wolf on board that runs off, and that's accurate to the book. Where they see, they think they see a wolf leap off the ship, and that's because Dracula can take many forms. Yeah, and they find his journal and his last notes, and they're like gonna read what the ship's log said, what happened to them. Really nice little panel here, I like that. And also I feel like just a lot of really nice panels that are, just little like narrative things. And so this just goes through the journey from the start. We don't get this ship in port or anything like that, but we're then introduced to the characters, and including this rather unpleasant first mate, or I guess second officer is what he's called, Lepes, and he's a bit of an asshole, but he's like also this big hulking dude, and he catches this guy with one arm, but then he's just really cruel and abusive, and there's a mixture of like experienced and inexperienced sailors, so we get a little sense of that. A lot of story told in caption, which again, it's true to the source material. It's just like a captain's log, and if you're gonna do something that's akin to the novel, then you're going to tell it in that way, which that's a choice. I'd say you can do it another. They could have done it a different way, where it was just like, we're going to tell the story first person, and we'll show them writing in the log, so it's recorded, but we don't. I guess that's one thing, is that the comics have that caption box to be able to get the inner thoughts of the characters, but I don't know. I think I'd be interested to see something that just takes it a little different route with it. And then we get this rather it's a sequence where they're stopped in Turkish customs for a few days, and basically they want to be bribed, and they want also a cut of the shipment. They want some of whatever they're shipping, and what they are shipping are boxes of dirt. Why would they carry dirt? Well, that's what they're asking. But also, if you know the story of Dracula, you know why they'd be carrying boxes of dirt. But it's not just dirt, we all know. There's something else in one of those boxes. And so they have this like scrape with the Turks here, and it's this kind of fairly intense action scene. This guy's throwing knives and shit and stabbing people, throwing people overboard, and it's this little fracas, which not standard to happen on a ship, I imagine, but great use of color, and just it's just kind of isolating different moments. That's what the art's doing here, and they're basically, their idea is we're just gonna flee because they don't have anything to offer except boxes of dirt, but then the Turks run away because they break into the hold to go after the dirt, and so they must have seen something. But what? So we get these little, dream sequences, and I think there's some of the parts I think I like the most in this comic, is these little vision sequences from the captain, and he's like, who's pays well for, okay, here we go, you get 40 boxes of dirt, so they do mention that's 40. Why you pay so well, and he's got a bag full of jewels, and then there's this scene where he looks like he's getting paid by this mysterious looking figure. Really cool color. I love that green mist. And he's getting paid with eyeballs. Weird, weird little turn there, which I love. I love that stuff. It's it's meant to be spooky. And there's the men are getting suspicious. But the asshole is like, you guys are weak, and he's just committed to being an asshole. And what's interesting is that, like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to do this story because it is such a well-known one that it's hard to have like kind of a sense of disconnect from the outcome. Like you know where it's all headed. Like, I guess you could say that about the movie Titanic. It's like we all know how it ends, but it's like, yeah, but the journey matters. And I think that's the challenge here is like, how do you make it so you either hope that things turn differently or you care about how things turn. Um, Mileage may vary on how successful this adaptation is, but I mean, I like the journey because I think it's drawn in an interesting way, and so I'm here for that. But basically, everybody's not feeling good and is nervous. Yeah, and then and then somebody goes missing. And yeah, that's the whole kind of premise here is that like they're being picked off one by one by something and they don't know what to do and they try searching around, they think they see things and it's full of suspicion and they're like looking on the ship if there's a stowaway, but there's no sign that there is except that people keep going missing. And I think that's a creepy notion. And we get these really fascinating craggy faces. Which, I mean, that looks like a guy who's been on the sea for a long time. Yeah. And just a great sea scene, sea storm scene. And I do like this dream sequence with the captain where we get what I'm gonna call like the Dracula's brides that kind of tempt this guy, and he's lured in by them, but then when you get this gross rotting face, I think the dream sequences I think are the ones I enjoy the most. And they start, things start escalating as more people get picked off. And there seems to be suspicions among the crew, and while I feel like at this point there isn't any suspicions made by anybody in the story, I'll just say that like our red herring is this big asshole that like, oh, he's been killing everybody because he went crazy. I really feel like that suspicion should have come further in or earlier in the story than it does, because at this point still like everybody's just like doesn't know what's happening. And I also feel like there should be kind of a little bit of a slower build up to like picking people off, because I feel like at a certain point it just escalates where it's like, and now you just got two guys, so now it just goes quicker and more people, and I feel like I don't know, just a more steady build up. I think I would have enjoyed a little more. Yeah, but these guys are starting to lose their shit, as you would if people just started going missing on your ship. And also, I like a detail I like is that they are late into England. Like they feel like they should already be there, but they aren't. And I think that's a really cool, eerie detail. Is that they are they're supposed to be there already, and yet they are not. Yeah, and at last we get our look at the big man himself. And it's a very it's more of the book look for Dracula, as far as like he's got his big mustache. and they're definitely making a connection with Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Tepes being Dracula, and that's something that I don't know necessarily that the book is explicit about. I feel like it uses him as a reference point, or rather, Bram Stoker used Vlad Tepes as like an inspiration for Dracula, just because of the grisly things he did to get called the Impaler. And he had a cool name, Dracula, but I feel like it's kept vague enough to where it's not necessarily one for one Vlad Tepes, but most people just go that route. I really like the lighting of this. Really, really eerie. And this guy throws a knife at Dracula, and Dracula don't give a shit. And then this guy, he's losing his fucking shit, and he's gonna go and look in the boxes of dirt, and he sees, that's just, a thirsty, bloody corpse, and he kills himself. But then, the captain just assumes that that big guy is the killer. And I do like the idea that there's a red herring, that the captain thinks is the case. And I feel like, again, it's hard to tell this story because everybody kind of knows, like, oh no, it's Dracula, really, it's Dracula. But, like, if there was a way to bury the lead on what the story was that you were telling, and you were able to, like, trick the audience, or rather hide from the audience what story you were telling, and it ended up, oh wow, no, they're on the Demeter and that's Dracula, like that would be cool. Again, hard to do, and especially like when you're trying to get people to buy your comic book. If you hide the fact that you're doing a Dracula book, all the Dracula people are gonna miss their chance at getting your book. So I understand wanting to put Dracula forward, but I'm just thinking like, I don't know, thinking like a writer, maybe not a marketer. But yeah, another cool dream sequence coming into Dracula's castle, and I love seeing the hint of like the bodies on the pikes, and the spikes going through it. Real brutal shit, and that's something that a real human being did to other real human beings. That's not vampire shit. And then he sees the bodies of his crew, and the cruel laughter of Dracula. Yeah, all the dream sequences I think are really cool. Really, like just great colors and great drawing, and just an awesome imagery. Because it's tough when you're stuck on one location for a story, and it's like a boat. All right, I got to draw this boat like 100 times. How do I keep it interesting? I also love this concept of like he's strapped himself to the wheel, but Dracula's just standing there staring at him. I think that's fucked up. And there he is turning to a giant bat. And as an artist, I gotta say I'm a big fan of giant bat Dracula. And then we're finally getting a sense of like, all right, one of his weaknesses, holy relic. Yeah, and the captain's gonna try to save England by crashing the boat, and sadly he just dies before he gets to his final resting place. And then we get our final scare, final moment where the guy reading this is like, what did the ship bring to the shores? And it's late at night and something swooshes into his room, and it's a giant bat, and that's the end. So that's 40 coffins, and I think It is, and this is, yeah, if you like this art, here's another book that the same creative team did. So if you dig it, there you go. Here's some preview art, but again, I think this came out in 2016 or something like that. There's probably more since then. But yeah, I think this is a pretty cool adaptation, comic adaptation of that, one chapter of the story. And I really think that it is an interesting story, and it's a great subject for a movie or just like its own isolated narrative. And again, telling it from the perspective of the sailors, it becomes more tense and mysterious. And, I think, yeah, telling that story is a good idea. And for my money, I think that Last Voyage of the Demeter is a fun in quotation marks. It's a good spooky time. It's great gothic imagery. The cast is amazing. And also the set, the Demeter set is just really gorgeous. I also love the choices that they made that deviated from the source material. I think it just made it more interesting, especially how they incorporated Aisling Forchosi's character. I love her from The Nightingale, one of the hardest movies to watch because it's just so brutal and like depressing, frankly, but also just I think a really important movie, a really powerful one, and she's amazing in it. But I love the incorporation of her character into the Last Voyage of the Demeter. I think that it really works. I think it just adds something more to the movie. I also really loved Corey Hawkins as our lead. He's just a great, compelling presence. He's very charismatic, and he was somebody who, like, all right, I want him to survive, even though I feel like he's probably not going to. And also Liam Cunningham from known best from Game of Thrones. And I feel like at the top of the heap, as far as acting goes, it's David Desmalkian. Just a great performance. And yeah, he's playing a really interesting character. And also a really cool looking Dracula. As a monster lover, I love monstrous Dracula, and we get a monstrous Dracula. I won't get into any more specifics about the movie other than just that I enjoyed it, and there are some choices in it that I'm kind of like, what's going on here, but the script that we have has been in kind of development purgatory for, I would say, about 20 years, and a lot of different people have come and written different segments of it, and I feel like it's a mixture of a bunch of different people's ideas. But I feel like it looks amazing, and that's what you can expect from an André Øvredal movie, is he puts together a great looking picture. If you don't know André Øvredal, watch Troll Hunter, Autopsy of Jane Doe, and also Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. But yeah, I recommend Last Voyage of the Demeter. So if you're watching this during spooky season, or really any season, and you want to watch a spooky movie that looks great and has a creepy monster in it, definitely check out Last Voyage of the Demeter. And if you're a Dracula lover and you also love comics, I'd say you can pick this up if you find it interesting, if you like the art. But there's also lots of comic adaptations of Dracula, and I'll definitely be talking about more of them in the future because I love Dracula. And if you love these videos or even like them, you should help me support myself and also in making more of these videos by checking out and buying my comics, which include Side Questers. This is the new cover that I've recently produced. This is just issue 1. But you can also get a collected volume of the first 8 issues and the first complete story arc. You can buy it on my website, but yeah, it is a fantasy adventure, and there's creepy monsters and shit in it too. So if you're a fan of that, it's in here. And if you also love creepy things, I have creepy witch tales in my Haxan anthologies. There's 3 different stories in here. There's 4 different stories in here, and they're all for purchase on my website. And I also do a web comic called Three Panel Origin, which I do spooky things for during Halloween, during the October month. And you should check those out. And this collects the first 3 years, which has, a bunch of different characters in it. And it's got kind of the tone of the Tick. And also I have a book of short stories related to that universe. But yeah, if you want to support this channel, if you want to support me as an artist, as a creator, you can consider buying my comics. But that's it. And that has been 40 Coffins.